Hey Arnold, Parents' Day by Craig Bartlett and Maggie Groening. Continuation, Chapter 6. Where are your parents now? Grandpa looked sadly at Arnold. I guess there's no way you could remember what happened. You were just a little feller. Well, the three of you were living here, and one day your dad's old friend Eduardo came to see them. Seems there was a disease wiping out a native village in the remotest part of his country. Natives who hadn't seen an outsider since your parents used to fly in with medical supplies. The only people those folks would trust were your mom and dad. At first, your parents said they wouldn't go. They felt they should stay here and take care of you. But Eduardo convinced them to take one last trip so that those native people could be saved. They thought they'd be back in just a few days, Arnold. They left you with Pookie and me. The last thing both of them said to you was how much they loved you. Arnold looked over at his secret drawer. Grandpa continued. So they loaded up a little plane one last time and took off into the jungle. Arnold looked at him. What happened to them, Grandpa? Why didn't they come back like they said? Grandpa shook his head sadly. They never came back. We never heard from them again. What about their plane? It was never found. Arnold thought for a moment. So maybe they can just be lost, and maybe someday they might still come back. Grandpa hesitated. Then he looked at Arnold's sad, hopeful eyes. I suppose that's possible, Arnold. It's not very likely, but it's possible. Arnold nodded slightly and settled back down to his bed. Grandpa, thanks for telling me the truth. Grandpa tucked the blankets around him. You're growing up, aren't you, short man? Chapter 7. That night, Arnold had a dream. He was a little baby again, and he was flying through the clouds searching for his parents. He thought he could see them, speeding in a small silver plane in and out of the clouds. He called out to them, but his voice sounded tiny and the wind took his breath away. Then in his dream, Arnold was toddling down the dark hallway of the boarding house. He called for his parents over and over, but no one answered. The hallway got bigger and darker and stretched on endlessly. He called again and again, getting more and more panicked, and then suddenly Grandpa was there, scooping him up and holding him tenderly. Don't cry, you poor little feller. The dream Grandpa said, Hey, how's about I tell you a bedtime story tonight? Did I ever tell you about the time your mom and dad worked for a midget circus in Perking? Then the dream scene shifted. Arnold saw himself as a baby, walking out into a tightrope over a huge circus crowd. He was trying to get to his parents, who stood way out on the tightrope, brightly lit by a spotlight. Arnold reached for them and suddenly fell, tumbling down and down endlessly until suddenly a pair of strong hands caught him and held him tight. It was Grandma. Say, Tex, what's a cowpoke like you doing without his horse? Climb up old Paint here and let them hit the trail. She tossed him up on her shoulders. Say, giddy up, Arnold. Off she went, with little Arnold giggling and feeling safe at last. Giddy up, Arnold yelled. Then Grandma disappeared and Arnold was flying in a tiny plane through huge clouds. He was all alone and scared until he saw another plane alongside him. His grandparents were in it. They smiled and waved at him, and Grandpa yelled, You got the right stuff, Arnold. They stayed right with him as he guided his plane expertly, joyfully through the clouds. The nightmare was over. The next morning, Arnold woke up late. When he got down to the kitchen, his grandparents was already eating breakfast. Arnold stopped in the doorway and watched them for a second. This oatmeal's awful running, Pookie, Grandpa said, letting a spoonful drip into his bowl. That's because it's miso soup. You need warrior strength on the field of battle today. Anjin San, she replied, tossing another handful of dry seaweed into the pot. Oh, Pookie, Grandpa sighed. I think we better forget about the parents' tournament. I talked to Arnold last night and... Morning, Grandpa. Morning, Grandma, Arnold said cheerfully as he walked into the room. Oh, hi, Arnold. Didn't hear you coming. Sleep well? Asked Grandpa. Sort of. I had some interesting dreams, Arnold said. He smiled. I was thinking, maybe we can go back to the parents' tournament today. Really? Grandpa said. But I thought you said it was just for kids with actual parents. Yeah, well, for me, that means you two. For a moment, the room seemed very quiet. Grandma and Grandpa smiled at Arnold. Then Grandma hoisted her spoon and yelled, Go team! Man the battle stations. That's right, declared Grandpa. We're a team. Nothing can stop us. Chapter 8. Arnold's new attitude paid off. After the tug-of-war and the wheelbarrow race, he and his grandparents had managed a serious comeback, and they were now ready to recapture second place from Phoebe's team. The piggyback relay was set to start with Arnold on Grandma's shoulders and Helga on her mother Miriam's shoulders. Okay, Miriam, Big Bob growled as they gathered at the starting line. I'm the best parent, and you better help me prove it. My head's throbbing, Bob. I'm going back to the car, Miriam said. No, you're not. You and Helga are here for the duration. Let's win that trophy. Okay, Bob, whatever you say, said Miriam. When the starting whistle sounded, Arnold and Grandma and Helga with Miriam lurched forward neck and neck. Steady as she goes. You can do it, Pookie, Grandpa yelled. Put some hustle in it, Miriam, bellowed Big Bob. Don't let that old biddy beat you. I'm doing the best I can, Bob, Miriam moaned. She finally staggered up to Big Bob, who reached for Helga to sling her on his back. What took you so long? It's Best Parents' Day, not mess everything up Day, Miriam. Helga started to slip, and he made a grab to catch her, but it was too late. She landed on the ground between her parents with a thud. Big Bob was about to put Helga back on his shoulders when Mr. Simmons came running up. I'm sorry, Mr. Pataki, but dropping your daughter disqualifies you in this competition. Hey, what are you telling me for? Miriam dropped her. Dad, just forget about it, okay? Helga hissed through clenched teeth. Don't tell me to forget about it, little lady. Suddenly, there was a loud cheer. Everyone turned to look. Arnold and Grandpa had just crossed the finish line, and Grandpa was doing a butt-wiggling victory dance. Oh, geez. Not those demented senior citizens again, moaned Big Bob. Mr. Simmons grabbed his megaphone. Arnold and his grandparents win. What a race! And now for this ultimate challenge, our triathlon, where each teammate must pass the baton on to the next in a series of grueling events, ending in a gladiator competition. Let's have our first teams up, please. As the triathlon proceeded, Big Bob waited impatiently. When's this thing gonna be over? He muttered. I want to collect that trophy and get back to the Beeper Emporium. Okay, now for the last two teams, Mr. Simmons called. Helga and... He paused, checking his list. The oldest living American, Big Bob supplied. Grandpa laughed. A lot you know. I'm the second oldest. He pointed to Grandma. She's the oldest. Arnold and Helga positioned themselves at the starting line on two tiny tricycles. Across the handlebars of each was an enormous baton that looked like a giant cotton swab. Mr. Simmons picked up his whistle. On your mark. Get set. Go. He gave a short whistle blast, and Arnold and Helga pedaled furiously. It was a dead tie when they reached Grandma and Miriam, who grabbed the giant batons, attached them to the helmets, and turned to rope climb up a giant vertical wall. Grandma was first to the top, but as she tried to throw a leg over the side, she lost her grip and began to slip. The crowd gasped. Grandma caught herself and pulled up again, but by this time, Miriam had surged ahead. She hit the ground and sped to Big Bob, who waited perched on a balance beam that extended over a giant bowl of green gelatin. Big Bob grabbed the baton and advanced over the beam towards Grandpa, aiming his foam rubber baton at him. Come on, give me your best shot, Gramps. I'll let you have one for free. I don't need your charity, Grandpa said as he seized the baton from Grandma and swung it at Big Bob's chest. Big Bob jumped back to avoid the hit, almost losing his balance. He swung back at Grandpa, who jumped over the baton, landing on the beam and doing a little dance. Float like a butterfly, crooned Grandpa, and he swung his baton again, catching Big Bob squarely in the gut. Sting like a bee, I always say. He swung again, this time bopping the side of Big Bob's helmet. Big Bob wobbled on the beam for a moment, but managed to right himself. Okay, old man, no more Mr. Nice Guy. Big Bob swung. Grandpa spun around and almost fell off the beam. He hung upside down from the beam, his bent knees preventing him from falling into the wobbling green gelatin below. He's down, Big Bob yelled. I win. Wait. Mr. Simmons was waving his hands. Arnold's grandpa hasn't fallen off. He's still in the game unless his body touches the gelatin dessert. Grandpa's knees were starting to slip. His head came closer and closer to the gelatin. I'll check, Mr. Simmons, Helga yelled as she ran up to lean in close to Grandpa. She whispered in his ear, Go for my dad's ankles. That's where he's packing his beepers. She turned to Mr. Simmons. He's still in the clear, she called. Whoopsie daisy, said Grandpa as he swung himself back up on the beam in one smooth motion. Big Bob advanced on him. Back for more, are ya? He laughed. Go ahead, make my day. Grandpa stared at Big Bob's bulky ankle socks, then faked a high swing. As Big Bob braced himself, Grandpa came back around low and caught him across the ankles. Ow, ow, my beepers, Big Bob yelled, wobbling violently on the beam. What was that? Said Grandpa, cupping one ear. Did I just hear a beeper go off? He swung again, knocking Big Bob off his feet and straight into the gelatin with a soft, thick splort. The crowd went wild, especially Arnold and Grandma. Helga and Miriam were careful to conceal their enjoyment. Chapter 9. Everyone gathered in front of Mr. Simmons. Okay, people, he yelled through his megaphone. Now, I've totaled up the scores from yesterday and today, and I'm ready to announce the winners. But first, give yourselves a big round of applause for the good sportsmanship and team effort you've all displayed. We're all winners today, boys and girls. Yeah, Helga yelled. Who won? Oh, all right. Mr. Simmons held up his clipboard. The winners with the highest combined score are Phoebe and her parents, Reba and Keo Hayerdale. There were cheers as Phoebe and her parents hugged each other. Mr. Simmons handed Phoebe the trophy. In second place, he said, is Arnold's team. And in third place is Helga's team. There were more cheers as Mr. Simmons handed the award ribbons to Arnold and Helga. Arnold immediately turned and gave his ribbon to Grandma, Grandpa, and Grandma. "Helga, where are you? A little help here?" Big Bob called. He was still struggling in the giant bowl of green gelatin. But Helga didn't hear him. She was too busy watching Arnold and his grandparents as they hugged and congratulated each other, and she was beaming. That night at the boarding house, Grandpa held up the ribbon and admired it. Then he turned to Arnold. "Well, Arnold, sorry we only got second place. I hope it was worth it for you anyway." Arnold smiled. "Are you kidding? I had a great parents' tournament. It took me all this time to realize that you're more than my grandparents. You're my parents, too." Grandma and Grandpa glanced at each other, and Grandma wiped a tear from her eye. "Your parents would be very proud of you, Arnold," she said. "Yep," agreed Grandpa. "They did a lot of amazing things, Arnold, but the best thing they ever did was they had you." "Good night, Grandpa." "Good night, short man." Before he went to sleep, Arnold pulled out the photo of his parents again. He studied it closely, memorized every detail, then closed his eyes. He turned to put it back in the secret drawer, then changed his mind. Instead, he placed it on a little shelf right next to his pillow. He lay back and looked at it. And that night he dreamed again. Arnold was flying in a little plane, just like the one his parents had last flown. The sky was a perfect turquoise blue. Arnold swooped over the boarding house so that he was looking down at the skylight into his own room. He can see the picture of his parents on the shelf by his bed. Then he flew up and away over his house, over his neighborhood, the school, and the rest of the city, and up into the beautiful orange and gold clouds. The end of Hey Arnold, Parents' Day by Craig Bartlett and Maggie Groening.